Hello, it's Mike, and something really big happened yesterday. A gigantic ruling came from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, probably the most liberal court in the land. It has struck down California's restriction on concealed carry weapons, the issuing of the permits. And this is gigantic. This is huge, because the way it stands right now, individual sheriffs and in some cases city municipalities get to decide if a person is allowed to carry a weapon or not, a concealed weapon or not. Meaning, if you're not a cop off duty, if you're not a politician, if you're not a movie star, if you're not a rock star, pretty much you can't carry a concealed weapon in California under the current system. Okay? The idea is the more people that carry weapons, the worse it is for the police. The cops really aren't that worried about how much additional crime there is in the street. Even in the newspaper today, the San Francisco Chronicle, even in there they said, well, our concern is if our cops are going to walk into a bad situation. Don't worry about if, say me, in my house, if I have a bad situation to begin with. They said if we walk into a home and there's a whole bunch of guns, why, it's just a whole lot of problem for the police. Problem for the police. Okay, keep that in mind. I have known some really great cops in my life. I've known some terrific deputy sheriffs and city cops. I have. But there are a bunch of scumbags out there, and uniformly they're hypocritical. We have the right to bear arms, we police, but you people don't. So, and that's just a prevailing thought. And it's unfortunate because even the really good ones kind of have that opinion, and I just don't I just don't agree with that at all. But the deal is, the reason that this ruling happened is because at the very beginning of 2013, California got rid of open carry. So in other words, at this time we are not allowed to carry a weapon on our hip. And there were only a few cities, like for example here in the Bay Area, San Bruno, you were allowed to do that. I think Redwood City down south, you were able to do that. But that's about it here for the Bay Area. And now nobody in California, anywhere, is allowed to have open carry. If you're not a cop, you can't do open carry. And what the court said was, okay, now that there is no more open carry, the citizens have no way to defend themselves outside of the home. In fact, what they're saying is that the lawyer for the plaintiffs here that brought the suit said that self-defense doesn't stop at one's threshold. The need for self-defense, even they had a lot of experts involved in the case. Even the judges were saying people in the street. There are reasons, like for example, a woman going through a bad neighborhood, or a person at night going to work, needs to have a gun in their pocket. The woman needs to have a gun in her purse, whatever, for self-protection. This was the judges, the federal judges. That's what they were saying. And they said if they don't have open carry anymore, then you cannot be so restrictive on concealed carry weapons permits. So the ruling that only the sheriff's department, only the city cops can determine who gets to have a concealed weapon based on current law, that's out. Okay, that's been struck down. Now it goes back to the state level, and the state will determine whether or not you can have a concealed carry weapon permit. Presumably at this point, well, number one, they are saying good moral character, meaning to say you can't be a felon, you can't be maybe a repeat violent misdemeanor offender, whatever. You must already own a gun. You must have it licensed and registered regularly, and you can carry it concealed in public, which doesn't mean it can't. It does not mean that it's on your hip. It means you have a purse, you have a belly bag, you have a briefcase, you have a holster inside, whatever. You can't wear it on the outside, but you can carry one on the inside. Now, they haven't specified yet whether this is the case in retail stores, in banks, whatever, because understandably there would be some concern with that. But what they are saying is that either we're going to have open carry or we're going to have more available CCW permits. You can't have both. You can't have impossible CCW permits and no open carry. The citizens of California are subject to the Second Amendment just like anybody else, and there must be one or the other. Either open carry or concealed weapon permit availability, less repressive than what it is, basically. Because right now, if you're not Jennifer Aniston, if you're not a cop, if you're not a judge, if you're not a DA, you pretty much can't get a concealed weapons permit unless you can document that somebody has shot at you several times, or death threats, or somebody's trying to kill you, or you're somebody famous that you could be in some sort of trouble. I mean, it's very strange, and like I said, super repressive the way the law is right now for concealed carry weapons permits in California. And remember again, as of like January, February 2013, there are no more open carry in California. Now, of course, this is going to be appealed. So the judge's ruling on the strikedown itself is on hold. It's probably the largest, probably the biggest ruling in favor of gun owners since the Supreme Court in about 2008, and then they did a follow-up in 2010, another ruling. But it's very big news. I mean, for me, it's very big news. I am a gun owner. I don't flash my gun. You're not going to see it here on YouTube at all. I actually have 2 guns. You're not going to see either one of them on YouTube. But the ability that if I know I'm going to go someplace that is not a good place to go, and I mean, I would need to bring a gun with me, I now can. If this ruling holds up, and I'm sure it's going to go all the way to the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court has already twice in 5 years ruled in favor of gun owners, and I presume that's probably going to be the case again, simply because there must be either or. The Second Amendment pretty much demands that. I mean, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It doesn't say the right to keep and bear arms in your house behind closed doors. It says the right to keep and bear arms. So something has to give. One of the two has to occur. And when the state changed their policy and decided that no more open carry, that's when this lawsuit was filed, and the circuit court, the Ninth Circuit Court, specifically ruling against the city and county of San Diego, they have struck down the CCW restrictions. So we'll have to see how it plays out, but it looks like at least there's been one victory for the good guys here. At least one court has said, and in fact this is not the only one, but at least one court has said, hey, in California you must be able to have regularly available CCW permits without all these repressive rules. Now, what the attorney for the gun grabbers, what that person said was, well, we're filing an appeal so that it will go to the full 11-member court and see. Because naturally, this was a 2-1 vote. Naturally, there were the 2 people voting in favor were conservatives. The dissenter was a liberal. The presumption is that since this is a liberal court, that the liberal court is going to uphold the current laws, the current policy. Then it's going to go to, that's the circuit court. Then it might go to district court, and then it would go to the Supreme Court. So I think there's a long road to go, but I do believe in the end, just based on how they wrote this thing, and I'll put the link in the description. I'll put the link to the actual ruling. They've published the actual ruling, and I'll put that link in there so that everyone can see it. It is, I think it's monumental, and it's an exciting thing because hopefully the libtards are not going to be able to regulate absolutely everything in the world. Hopefully we're not going to be turned into a bunch of limp-wristed pansies the way it looked like we've been going to do. Because even Harry Reid, the leader of the Senate, the majority leader in the Senate, even he's a gun guy. I mean, there's a lot of Democratic gun guys and women, gun women, in this world. I ran up on a picture of Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords before she was shot. and and anybody who wants, I will email you this picture. It's priceless. Gabrielle Giffords, basically she's holding, looks like either an AR-15 or an M16, holding it with the butt in the air, the barrel down, and she's standing next to a target which looks for all the world to be a child, the face of a child, and it's all shot up. And she's got a big smile on her face, and that's Gabrielle Giffords. It was before she got shot. And so anybody who wants that, if you want me to send it to you, I will. But it's a very, very interesting thing. There are a lot of liberal gun owners. Hopefully this will stand up sooner than later. But I do think that in the grand scheme of things, this ruling by the court will stand up. So, have a good day.